Let's talk Indians baseball right now in the offseason. We welcome in MLB Network correspondent Jim Rosenhaus. Jim, I'm going to launch right into what we're hearing now about the Indians because that is an interesting place on the win curve where you're getting closer. You need to add a little bit more. What are you hearing about Brandon Moss and the possibility of a trade?
Just that what you're seeing, I think, in multiple reports, that's very much a possibility. Hard to pin down right now what would go the other way if indeed that trade does come down. But when you looked at this offseason in terms of being able to add for the Cleveland Indians, this is the route that they would go. I think signing a free agent who could make an impact is just not part of the equation, but certainly there's some depth to deal from for the Indians to make a trade. And I think if this does go down, that's the type of moves that the Indians will make this offseason to try and strengthen their club.
Jim, one of the things that you look at with the Cleveland Indians and the way they're putting together their team, usually trade rumors that have real substance don't get reported by 72 outlets within the media. This story seemed to go and spread like wildfire. Do you really think there's a lot of credence to that? And what does that make you think about what Chris Antonetti said at the GM meetings about this team being really a stand-pat organization and looking to develop from within, keeping the lineup in the roster status quo?
Well, I think that they can still go along those lines because you have so many of your key players are signed not only for this season but next season and the season beyond that too. The amount of their so-called core players who are signed through 2017 and beyond is pretty impressive. And you're talking about Michael Brantley, Corey Kluber, Yan Gomes, Carlos Santana, Jason Kipnis, players like that. But I still think that they did not make the playoffs a year ago, and I think they're trying to I don't know if reconfigure the roster is the right way to put it, but I think they're trying to address some perceived weaknesses there and then see if they can't make an impact through trade.
Jim, Corey Kluber put on an absolute clinic last year because obviously everything he threw up there seemingly was a swing and miss. What are the Indians going to be able to do about shoring up that defense to protect that pitching staff?
Boy, that is the big question because it's something they obviously know is an issue. I mean, it was dead last in the American League defense-wise. Some of the things you hear, can they move Jason Kipnis or Alani Chisenhall to the outfield? If that's something they deem something that would help. But you know, then you're looking at who do you displace in the outfield and do their numbers offensively stack up for a corner outfield position, that type of thing, and how difficult is it for them to make that adjustment. So I don't think you'll see that. That's just one of the things that has been thrown out there, not by necessarily members of the front office, but others. How do you get better defensively? And then the trade-off is, do you give something up offensively to do that? But it's clearly a concern. I think in Kluber's case with the strikeouts, sometimes you can get away with defenses less than stellar behind you, but I think a staff as a whole, you'd like to have a better defense if you can.
Jim, just wanted to ask you something about Nick Swisher. You know, obviously Nick's been hurt, just had surgery, but I know he will give the Indians such a huge boost in that lineup, and I wonder how his health is. What do you expect from him? I mean, are the Indians counting on Nick? Because I know he's a great personality in the clubhouse, and when he's on, I know what a great presence in that lineup he would make. You know, not only does he walk, you know, he can hit for power. You know, they want to see him back to the New York form. How close is he to getting back to the Yankees form, you know, hitting for power and getting on base?
Well, from the hitting for power, getting on base perspective, I think they really have to wait and see what type of condition he's in coming into spring training. How did the surgery take? And talking with him after the season, this was already a couple of months outside of surgery. The biggest key for him was undergoing the surgery before the season was over. He underwent the surgery in mid to early August, so he got to jump on things, and I know that's made a big difference for him. From his perspective, I think there's, for the first time in a while, kind of a chip on his shoulder. That's something to prove that hey, he can come back and be the type of hitter that the Indians have expected him to be after signing him. And I think we saw that at times in 2013. You look down the stretch, he was a difference maker in September when they made the big run. He was a big key in their lineup, and that's something that they'd love to get back from him, and he'd like to get back to as well. I know it did not go well for him last year, and certainly when you look back at him having surgery after the season, you could point to that as being a big reason why. I think he wants to prove a lot of people maybe wrong that he's on the downside of his career and that he still does have some good seasons left.
All right, talking Indians baseball, Jim Rosenhaus joining us. Jim, good talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, guys.